Welcome to Boston University's College of Communication. Today's presentation is for prospective graduate students considering applying to the College of Communication who may have questions about financial aid opportunities within the college. My name is Jackie Cummings. I'm the Graduate Admission and Financial Aid Counselor here at COM. I assist students through the application and admission process and also can assist with any questions that you have about financial aid, whether that be scholarship, loan options, or on-campus employment opportunities. My contact information is listed here on this slide. So if you do have any questions or have questions that are maybe more specific to your situation, I encourage you to reach out at any time. Today's presentation will be a pretty high-level overview about the options that are available to graduate students here at the College of Communication to finance their education. So as I mentioned before, if anything is a little bit more specific, you can always reach out and I'm happy to set up an appointment to discuss further. These are the types of graduate financial aid that we will be discussing today. So we will be discussing COM Merit Scholarship. We'll be discussing federal loans, which include the Federal Direct Stafford Loan, as well as the Federal Graduate Plus Loan. We'll also touch briefly on private loan options, and then finally, we will speak about on-campus employment. Before we get into the types of financial aid, it's important to review the cost of attendance. The cost of attendance is the cost of the program broken out into academic year. This is important to consider when you're planning for your financial aid so you can determine how much you'll need to borrow or how much financial aid will make it feasible for you to be able to attend the program. The cost of attendance is broken out into two different categories. The first is billable items. These are items that will actually appear on your student account each semester, and you'll be responsible for paying to Boston University. The billable items include tuition, mandatory student fees, and BU medical insurance. Medical insurance can be waived if you're already covered by a comparable plan that will cover you in Boston while you're here. And this is something that you can waive off of your student account over the summer before classes start. Other items to consider are ones that are not billed to you directly through Boston University, but are things that students will be responsible for to a landlord or personally throughout the course of their program. So these non-billable items would include room and board. So this would be rent and groceries and things like that to consider. Students will also have personal expenses that come up throughout the semester or the academic year. There are expenses related to transportation, so whether that be commuting to campus or going home during breaks. Books and supplies, so any required course materials for your classes. And then if you do borrow federal loans, there are small federal loan fees associated with that, which you would want to consider as well. The exact figures for the cost of attendance are found on our website. This link right here is really the most helpful place for you to find this information. For each upcoming academic year, the cost of attendance information is usually updated in mid to late March. So I would always recommend checking back here to see when that's updated for the upcoming academic year. Another helpful resource for determining the cost of attendance is our cost of attendance calculator, which can be found on the same webpage that the cost of attendance is listed. Here you can input different financial aid options to see what your out-of-pocket expenses would look like, and you can play around with this tool to determine how much financial aid you would need to make it feasible for you to attend the program. Now we'll discuss some of the financial aid options that I mentioned earlier. So the first one we will touch on in more depth is COM Merit Scholarship. So COM Merit-based scholarship is awarded at the time of admission. So in the event that a student is accepted to one of our programs and allocated scholarship, their scholarship offer will be outlined in their admission letter. There is no separate application for scholarship. All students, and this includes both international and domestic students, will be reviewed for scholarship at the same time they are reviewed for admission. Scholarship for our programs is not need-based. It is completely based on the merit of your application and the faculty's review. Scholarship amounts can range anywhere from $5,000 a year up to $30,000 a year. And if you are awarded a scholarship, it will be awarded for the full duration of your program and will be broken out in your admission letter. Moving forward to talking about federal financial aid options. As I mentioned in the first slide, this includes the Federal Direct Stafford Loan and the Federal Graduate Plus Loan. To be eligible for these federal aid options, students must meet the following criteria. Students must be U.S. citizens, permanent residents, or eligible non-citizens. You must be enrolled at least half-time in a degree-seeking program. So at BU, half-time is 6 or more credits. If you identify as male, you must be registered with the Selective Service. If you have previously borrowed federal aid or federal grants, you must be in good standing. This means you must not owe a refund, not defaulted, or have any other outstanding issues with your federal aid. You must continue to meet satisfactory academic progress, which means to continue to maintain a cumulative GPA of 3.0 throughout your program. You must have not already borrowed the Stafford lifetime aggregate borrowing limit, which is $138,500. Most students are well below this borrowing limit unless you may have received or been in multiple master's degree programs. Otherwise, if you've just completed a bachelor's degree, you're most likely far below this limit. If you decide to apply for the Graduate Plus loan, this is a credit-based loan, which means you must pass the credit check for this loan or have a cosigner or an endorser that does. Next, we'll talk about the maximum borrowing limits for each of these loans. For the federal unsubsidized Stafford loan, the maximum borrowing limit per academic year is $20,500. The loan amount will be split evenly between the fall and spring, which means that a student will get a disbursement of $10,250 per semester. If you have already borrowed Stafford loans as an undergraduate student, you'll want to make sure that you're below the aggregate loan limit for an undergraduate student. This limit is $31,000 for dependent students or $57,500 for independent students. And no more than $23,000 of this aggregate limit can be from subsidized Stafford loan. If you do exceed this limit, we will notify you, as you will not be eligible to continue to borrow loans until you repay your undergraduate loans to below the aggregate limit or go through the reaffirmation process with your servicer. If you have concerns about your previous borrowing or you just want to review it, you can always view your federal loan record on nslds.ed.gov. To log in here, you will use the same login information that you use when you complete your FAFSA. Once you become a graduate student, your borrowing limit will increase significantly to $138,500, which will now encompass your borrowing limit for both your undergraduate loans and any future graduate loans that you choose to take. For the Federal Graduate Plus loan, there is not a specific borrowing limit. Students can borrow up to the cost of attendance for the academic year, minus any financial aid they are already receiving, which would include both the Stafford loan and merit scholarship or any other outside scholarship that a student receives. The Graduate Plus loan is also applied for the full academic year and will disperse in 2 equal installments at the beginning of each semester. If you choose to borrow loan funding that exceeds your billed expenses to cover rent or books or things like that, you will have a credit on your account, which is a positive balance, and you will be able to request a refund for this credit through your student link on or after the first day of classes each semester. Once approved, the funds will be electronically deposited back into your U.S. bank account where you can use them to pay for the expenses that you need. For steps on how to apply for federal aid, the first step would be to complete a FAFSA application, or the free application for federal student aid. You can complete this on the FAFSA website and make sure to submit it to Boston University using our school code of 002130. You can also search Boston University and select us there. It's important to use the IRS data retrieval tool when you complete the FAFSA. This will just make sure that all of your information is transferred into the FAFSA as completely and as accurately as possible. You'll also want to call our office to make sure that your Social Security number is in your student record. If we do not have your Social Security number on file, we will not receive your FAFSA. We recommend completing your FAFSA by the first day of class for the fall semester to make sure that all of your financial aid can be processed on time. As we go through these steps, I also want to note that these steps can be completed after you've received an admission decision from COM. You do not need to complete this at the same time you're filling out your application for admission. We process most financial aid over the summer, so there's plenty of time to complete these steps. The second step would be to complete loan request forms. So in addition to completing the FAFSA, we do have loan request forms that need to be completed each year. Both request forms for the Stafford loan and the Graduate Plus loan can be found on our website and also should be submitted before the first day of class. The third step for borrowing federal aid would be to complete the master promissory note and entrance counseling. To do this, you can go to studentloans.gov. It's important to make sure that you're completing the requirements for graduate and professional students. So even if you borrowed loans as an undergraduate student, you will need to recomplete these requirements as a graduate student. You'll also want to make sure that these requirements are sent back to BU, again, using our school code of 002130. Next, we'll talk briefly about private loan options. So in addition to federal financial aid, there are different lenders that offer private loans to graduate students. BU has a service called Elm Select that you can use to compare and contrast these different loan products. We've created this list of lenders using information about interest rates, customer service, and borrower benefits, but it is no way an exhaustive list. So if you want to apply for a loan through a lender that's not on this list, you can still do that. But you may find that this tool is helpful as a starting point. If you don't know anything about private lenders, this may be a good place to begin your research. For private loans, unlike federal loans, you do apply for them directly through the lender, and each private lender will have their own credit criteria for a student to be eligible. Some of the lenders that we have posted on Elm Select are Citizens Bank, Common Bound, MIFA, Sallie Mae, and Wells Fargo, but you can certainly click into Elm Select and explore the options that are listed there. And just some general tips on loan borrowing. You should only select one credit-based loan option. So you would either want to go with the Graduate Plus loan or a private loan. You would not want to go with both. You should also make sure that you create a budget and only borrow what you need. Loan funding can be extremely helpful in paying for your program while you're in full-time enrollment and you're maybe not working. But loan funding does need to be repaid eventually, and you want to make sure that when it comes time to do so, it's not an overwhelming process and you only borrowed what you needed at the time. If you want to estimate what your monthly payment would look like once you begin repayment, you can explore different calculators. There's one on studentloans.gov, and then another useful one is on finaid.org. It'll show you what you can estimate for a monthly payment through a wide range of repayment plans. Next, we're going to talk briefly about on-campus employment. For the majority of our graduate students, this would mean graduate assistantships within the college. So with COM, we have teaching, research, and graduate assistantships. These positions are paid through a stipend of ranging anywhere from $1,500 to $6,000 per semester. These stipends range because they're based on the amount of hours you're working as well as the type of position. Once you've been accepted to the program, you can definitely speak with faculty members about potential positions that will be available. We will also send out positions over the summer as they open up. And throughout the semester, we will continue to publish any open positions within the newsletter that we send out bi-monthly. If you do secure an assistantship position, there is a assistantship contract that will need to be submitted by the first day of classes each semester in order to make sure that you are getting paid. In addition to the assistantship opportunities that are available through COM, Boston University does have a student employment office on campus that assists both undergraduate and graduate students with finding on-campus and off-campus job opportunities. So within their office, they do have a part-time online job board, as well as a quick job board that for positions that are more short-term. And students can certainly browse both of these online job boards to see if anything is interesting to them and can apply through there. I also encourage you to take a look at their website for helpful resources for on-campus employees. You can also find information about other required paperwork, including the I-9 and W-4 on their website as well. One note that I will make about on-campus employment is that most students are securing positions over the summer, so prior to beginning in the fall. So while this isn't something that you can get started on right now while you are applying to the program, you can start exploring these resources and seeing what's available. So that way, when the summer does come around, you have a better idea of what to expect. Finally, these are some resources for outside scholarships. So in addition to all of the financial aid that we're able to offer through COM and through loan options, we also encourage students to research and apply for outside scholarships that may be applicable to them. So here are some search engines that you can definitely look at to see if anything is of interest to you and you can apply for any private or outside scholarship that you want to. If you do receive a private scholarship, it will not impact your merit scholarship from COM. We would just be able to add them together. The one thing to note is that if the scholarship does exceed the cost of attendance, we may need to adjust your merit scholarship, but otherwise it can just be added on top. So this was just an overview of the different kinds of financial aid options that are available to graduate students at the College of Communication. I hope today's presentation was helpful, but if you do have any other questions, please feel free to reach out at comgrad@bu.edu or by giving us a call at 617-353-3481. Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to reviewing your application.